Episode 1, Omega. Season 2 opens up with Jackson rising out of a pond with a large bite mark on his stomach. Next, we learn Allison is still secretly dating Scott, even though her dad explicitly told her not to and told Scott he won't hunt him as long as he stays away from Allison. But they aren't obeying the rules. Meanwhile, Lydia is still in the hospital after the attack she suffered from Peter in the last season, and Styles is patiently waiting for her to be discharged. As she is showering, a black liquid comes out of the drain and causes her to scream. Styles rushes into the room only to see the window open and she is gone. Scott shows up to help Styles and Allison go find her, and they are worried she may be a werewolf now because of the Alpha attack. Next, we meet Isaac Leahy, who is another high schooler in town and he works at the cemetery. One night, something knocks him out of his gravedigger into a hole, and it turns out to be Derek. Jump back to Scott and Styles, who are still looking for Lydia, and Scott ends up caught in a trap that was set up by Argent. Argent once again threatens Scott to leave Allison alone, or else he will end him for good. Over to the school, where Jackson now has black liquid coming out of him as well, and Derek shows up to tell him his body is fighting the bite and it could kill him. He's never seen a body fight the bite before. Another student we meet is Matt Daler, who is the yearbook photographer and has a gigantic crush on Allison and is pleased to learn she's single. The following day, Kate's funeral is held and her father, Gerard Argent, shows up and breaks Matt's camera for being nosy. Gerard tells Allison he missed her, but she barely even knows him as he's not around much. After the funeral, Styles and Scott get a ride in the sheriff's car and hear over the radio that another attack has happened, but they know Peter is dead, so they're confused. As the episode closes, Derek and Scott spy on the Argents and they see Gerard cut another werewolf in half. They realize Gerard is in town to avenge his daughter and kill every single werewolf there, deserved or not. Episode 2. Shape-shifted. Isaac is at home arguing with his dad, and it's obvious they don't really care for each other. His dad tries abusing him, which causes Isaac to sprint out of the house, and outside, his father is killed by a new supernatural creature. Isaac witnesses this and then runs over to tell Derek what happened. At school the next day, Scott notices Isaac has a ton of brand new abilities just like he did in Season 1, and he realizes that Derek bit Isaac to become a werewolf and be a part of his pack, because Scott declined. Meanwhile, Sheriff Stilinski brings Isaac in for questioning about his father's death, because a witness said they saw them together in the alley last night, arguing with each other, but Isaac says they argued a lot. Not enough to kill him, though. Scott goes to confront Derek because he thinks Isaac killed his father, but Derek says it was something else. Derek does tell Scott they need to get Isaac out of the police station before nightfall because a full moon will be out that night and he doesn't know how to control it yet. Elsewhere, Gerard also wants to kill Isaac when he learns he could be a beta. Allison overhears this and warns the others about her grandfather and his plan to kill Isaac. Allison locks Scott in a freezer so he can't hurt anyone during the full moon either. He still isn't able to control himself during full moons. A little later, upstairs, a lizard creature shows up and attacks Allison, but thankfully Scott hears her and is able to free himself from the freezer and scare the creature away. Meanwhile, Derek and Styles manage to get to Isaac, but not before Isaac already attacked a hunter. Derek has to growl at him to make Isaac submit and control his emotions since he's the alpha. While this was all going down, Jackson recorded himself during the full moon to see if he would turn into a werewolf, but when he checks the footage the next day, he slept peacefully throughout the night. Episode 3. Ice Pick. To kick off this episode, Allison is at the gas station, getting gas, where she is captured by someone and tied up. When she wakes up, she realizes it was her father testing her on what she would do in a similar situation. He wants to start training her to become a hunter. After she leaves, another one of the hunters is attacked by the lizard creature. At school the next day, Scott notices that another classmate, Erica Reyes, suddenly became hot and is acting like a goddess, even though she's always been a nerd, and Scott realizes Erica is another beta. Derek must have bit. He's building his pack. That night, Scott, Styles, Lydia, and Allison go double date ice skating with each other, and Lydia starts seeing things like Peter's face underneath the ice, which causes her to freak out, and Styles comforts her. Something has obviously affected her mental state. The following day, Scott believes a guy named Vernon Boyd that works at the ice rink is Derek's next beta target because he needs 3 betas to have a full pack. Scott tries talking Boyd out of doing it, but Boyd says he just wants to feel like he belongs somewhere. Derek, Isaac, and Erica then show up, and Scott takes out Isaac and Erica with relative ease and then fights with Derek. Derek dominates the fight as an alpha should, and he tells Scott he already turned Boyd anyway, so no point in trying to stop it. Scott then goes to get treated by Deaton, who says he has a lot to tell Scott. Deaton knows about the supernatural and is close to an expert on werewolves. The episode closes with Jackson on the lacrosse field, angry he's not a werewolf, and then out of nowhere, he lifts his whole truck up and actually has superhuman strength now. Episode 4. Abomination. This episode opens with the Argents at the animal clinic asking Deaton what could have killed their guy, and Deaton says he doesn't know, but it's stronger and deadlier than a werewolf. Whatever this thing is, it's killing for sport. Jump over to a mechanic shop where Styles is getting his Jeep fixed, and then the lizard creature shows up, kills the mechanic, and then walks up to Styles and taunts him. Meanwhile, Derek is training his betas to be strong because he knows they need to be a cohesive pack if they're going to have any chance at this lizard creature. Elsewhere, Styles asks Allison if she has seen a bestiary around their house, which is a book that details a bunch of mythical creatures. Styles thinks the lizard might be in it, and Allison says her grandfather carries a leather book around with him. Gerard is the new school principal, and Allison says they will need his keys to grab it out of his office when he isn't there. Jackson rewatches the video of him sleeping, and Matt tells him 2 hours of the footage is missing. While the lacrosse game is going on, Derek is talking with Styles inside the school about the creature, and then right on cue, it shows up and attacks them. It paralyzes Derek with a toxin, and Styles has to save him from drowning. After the lacrosse game, Gerard invites Scott over to dinner, which angers Chris Argent, but Gerard doesn't know he is a werewolf, and they don't want to tell him because he will kill Scott without hesitation. It's a very awkward dinner, to say the least. Scott and Allison aren't even supposed to be talking to each other, but are now having dinner together. Allison's mom despises Scott too, and Argent even threatens Scott in the kitchen. Meanwhile, at the school, Styles and Derek are in the pool and they realize the creature is afraid of water. At Allison's house, they realize the book Gerard has isn't the bestiary, it's a flash drive on Gerard's keychain. Scott then races over to the school where he scares the lizard away and finds the keys. They check the USB drive and learn the creature is called a Kanima. A little later, Gerard confronts Scott at the hospital and says he knows what he is, and he owes him a favor in the future for not killing him. Episode 5. Venomous. Derek suspects Jackson could be the Kanima, so he has his betas kidnap Jackson and bring him back to their lair, and Derek tests Jackson with the Kanima venom to see if it works on him or not. The venom works normally on Jackson, so Derek concludes he isn't the lizard creature. Jackson is curious what he might be if he's not a werewolf or a Kanima. Scott wonders if it is Lydia, but Styles says not a chance. She is still having weird visions of Peter all the time, though. Derek sends Isaac and Erica to test the venom on Lydia, and it doesn't paralyze her like it should. Scott, Styles, and Allison are going to do everything they can to save Lydia, even if she is the Kanima. Allison does some researching on a Kanimu and learns that it isn't set out to make or join a pack like a werewolf. It is designed to kill. Derek tells Scott they have to kill Lydia before she kills everyone else in town, but Scott says he won't let that happen. Scott tells Derek there is something up with Jackson too, and if he isn't a werewolf like them, what could he possibly be? Scott doesn't think they should rule out Jackson just because the venom didn't work on him, and says Lydia could just be immune to the special toxin, but Derek isn't so sure. After school the following day, Styles, Jackson, and Allison immediately take Lydia over to Styles' house to get away from Derek and his pack. Meanwhile, Danny is reviewing the Jackson sleeping tape again, and he recovers the 2 missing hours, showing Jackson waking up with glowing yellow eyes just like the Kanima has. A little later, Derek and his pack then show up at Styles' house to take Lydia with them. But upstairs, Jackson transforms into the Kanima, escapes, and everyone finally realizes it was Jackson this whole time. The episode ends with the Kanima crawling up to a car and putting its hand up next to whoever is driving the car, like he or she is his master. Episode 6. Frenemy. Lydia wants answers on what the hell is going on, but Allison said she wouldn't believe her. Meanwhile, Derek and the Kanima fight with each other until Argent shows up and scares Derek and Scott away. Gerard then arrives to save his son from the Kanima. Later, Scott discovers the Kanima's next target is Danny, so he follows him to a club. Once there, they see the Kanima on the ceiling preying on Danny, and then the Kanima starts poisoning everyone there, and it's a massacre with people going down left and right. Scott and Styles run outside, and they find Jackson passed out, so they put him in the back of Styles' Jeep and drive off before anyone can see Jackson. The next day, he wakes up chained up in the back of a police van Styles borrowed from his father's station. Meanwhile, Gerard asks Allison if she knows where Jackson is because his parents called the school worried he didn't come home, and Allison plays dumb. After school, Allison goes to tell Styles that the police and Jackson's family are on a manhunt for him. They then meet Scott at another spot out in the woods to discuss what to do about Jackson. They theorize someone is controlling him when he shapeshifts to the Kanima, which we know is the truth, as saw at the end of the last episode. A little later, Jackson turns into the Kanima and escapes the chains and runs. Not knowing what to do, Scott and Styles just decide to tell the sheriff about the supernatural. But whenever they get to the station, Jackson and his father, who is a lawyer, are there waiting for them, and Jackson might be pressing charges for kidnapping. Episode 7. Restraint. This episode begins with the Kanima attacking a random couple in the woods, and he spares the woman's life when it realizes she is pregnant. At the police station the following day, Jackson files for a restraining order against Scott and Styles. Guess he's fine just being a serial killer lizard creature and killing numerous innocent lives. Scott's mom grounds him and says no hanging out with Styles until she says otherwise. Over to Derek, who tells his betas he needs to chain them up for the full moon, and he believes Gerard knows more about the Kanima than he is letting on, and he's going to go investigate. Styles asks Allison to keep an eye on Jackson since she doesn't have a restraining order against her. While Scott is taking a makeup test, he can hear Allison's heartbeat, afraid of Jackson somewhere in the school, so he storms to the locker room and fights with Jackson to protect her. And then everyone involved gets detention that day. In detention, Jackson starts feeling weird, so he rushes to the bathroom where a snake comes out of his eye, and then he returns to detention, frightened at what's happening to him. While everyone else is in detention, at her house, Lydia goes outside to let her dog out and thinks someone is spying on her, and when she checks it out, it is a new boy at school that has been crushing on her hard. They start flirting, but then she hallucinates Peter once again. At the school, Jackson turns into the Kanima after Mr. Harris leaves, and he paralyzes Erica and Matt, and then writes on a chalkboard, "Stay out of my way or I'll kill all of you." Erica then has a seizure as a result of the venom. Scott and Styles rush Erica to Derek to heal her, and then Scott tells Derek he'll be a part of his pack and they need to save Jackson, not kill him. Back over to Lydia, who learns that the cute boy she has been seeing everywhere is actually a young ghost version of Peter. Peter gave her some supernatural gift when he bit her in the first season, and then the camera pans down to see a burned-up Peter beneath the floor. Episode 8. Raving. To begin this one, Jackson is in a trance and he arrives to a rave party and he's obviously being controlled by someone. Meanwhile, Styles talks with his dad and they both realize the mechanic, and the couple that the Kanima killed in the last episode both went to high school together and were in Mr. Harris's chemistry class back in the day. Styles thinks the Kanima is targeting its attacks and the next victim is someone from that class. Argent takes Allison to the morgue to look at dead bodies the supernatural have caused, and he thinks Allison knows more than she is letting on regarding the Kanima. Argent wants to know who controls the Kanima because if they kill that, the Kanima goes away with them. Deaton then tells Scott and Styles this as well. So now everyone is on the hunt for the master. The following day, Scott and Allison meet together, and Scott says Allison's mom knows about them and he thinks they should see other people to make them think differently. Allison says okay, and she tells Scott she's going to hang out with Matt, but doesn't realize her mom was there watching the whole conversation and saw them kiss. Later, Deaton gives Scott some special powder to use at the upcoming concert, and the powder makes it to where the Kanima can't pass it as a barrier. Styles then learns that his dad lost his job as police chief because of all Styles' actions lately, such as a stolen police van, and he feels horrible. The hunters show up at the rave and start spraying bullets at Derek and his pack. Scott runs outside to help, but is ran over by Allison's mom. When he wakes up, she says she is going to kill him, but while this is going down, Styles and Isaac manage to capture Jackson for the time being. Jackson wakes up possessed and says he is just killing people who deserved it. Jackson then escapes and kills Kara, who was another one from that Mr. Harris class years ago. Derek senses Scott is in danger, and he goes to save him and is able to drag Scott to safety before he dies from smoke inhalation. The episode ends with Allison's mom meeting with Chris Argent, and he sees that Derek bit her when he saved Scott. Episode 9. Party Guest. Lydia continues to hallucinate Peter everywhere she goes. At the Argent house, Gerard tells Chris his wife isn't going to make it, and he knows there's nothing they can do. Elsewhere, Allison and Matt go on a date, and she notices on his camera he is a creeper, and this freaks her out a little bit. Derek tells his pack they are all staying in chained up together for the full moon, and that's final. At the Stalinsky house, Styles and his father are still investigating, even though they don't have a police presence anymore. Styles doesn't think Mr. Harris is behind everything, but his dad sure does. But his dad still doesn't know about the supernatural, and Styles doesn't know if he should divulge that or not. The following day, Lydia invites everyone to her birthday party. Even Jackson shows up, which startles Scott. Derek ties up his pack on a school bus so they can't get loose. Back to the party where everyone is drinking Lydia's punch, which seems to be spiked with something, and the only person not drinking it is Matt, which is very suspect. Allison then starts hallucinating herself, shooting herself with an arrow. Styles hallucinates his dad, telling him he ruined his life. Scott hallucinates Jackson making out with Allison and then turning into the Kanima. We then jump over to the school bus where Derek is dealing with all of his betas going completely berserk, trying to break free because of the full moon. At Argent's house, Mrs. Argent stabs herself before she can turn into a werewolf, and she dies. Meanwhile, Lydia arrives at the school bus and blows purple dust into Derek's eyes, causing him to pass out. Back to the party, and Scott sees the Kanima outside right next to Matt, like Matt is its master. When Derek starts waking up, he is dragged into an old house by Lydia, and then Peter bites his arm and rises from the dead. Peter Hale is back. Episode 10. Fury. This episode opens with a flashback showing Matt was the person that held up their hand to the Kanima earlier in the season as its master of sorts. Scott and Styles try to convince his dad that Matt is behind everything, and after looking into it a bit more, Stilinski believes them and he needs to get the police to issue a warrant as fast as possible. Whenever Styles gets to the station, he is met by Matt with a gun. Derek tells Deaton that Peter is back from the dead, and Deaton tells Derek he is still an alpha, but he has to have Scott and his pack 100% to defeat both the Kanima and Peter. At the station, Matt holds the three hostage while the Kanima kills everyone in the station under Matt's control. Meanwhile, Allison is dealing with the aftermath of her mother's death, and Gerard is using this as an opportunity to turn Allison against werewolves, and it appears to work. She is out for blood. Scott's mom then arrives at the station, and Matt shoots Scott and puts them in a jail cell together. Allison learns everyone is at the police station, so she gets ready with Argent and Gerard to make their move. Allison is prepared to kill them all, even Scott, which makes Gerard smile. At the station, Matt tells Scott why he is doing what he is doing and controlling the Kanima to kill. The people from that class tried drowning him in a pool, and he's wanted payback ever since. The Argents then show up and start spraying bullets inside. It's complete madness, and Allison tells Scott to give up Derek and she will let him live. Derek was the one that killed her mom. She then runs into the Kanima, who starts chasing her around the station, and it paralyzes her. She then realizes Matt is its master. A big fight happens, and Scott's mom sees her son as a werewolf for the first time, and she freaks out. Matt storms out of the station and is met by Gerard, who drowns him. And now that Gerard killed Matt, he is now the Kanima's master as Peter watches from a distance. Episode 11. Battlefield. This episode opens up with Styles' father getting his sheriff job back because he uncovered Matt was responsible for all the deaths around town. Scott is now having problems with his mother, though, because she is afraid of him after seeing him as a werewolf. Later, Scott is visited by Gerard and the Kanima, who want to talk with him. Gerard wants Scott's help to kill Derek and his pack. At the animal clinic, Deaton shows Isaac and Scott their ability to heal animals by taking some of the pain and experiencing it themselves. Elsewhere, Derek is visited by Peter, and Peter tells Derek that he is going to take his pack from him, which angers Derek because he worked so hard to find and build it up. That night, their lacrosse games comes, and Jackson is planning on playing, but Scott doesn't think that is a good idea at all. While the game is going on, the Argents are out hunting Boyd and Erica. Gerard continues to threaten Scott to help him kill Derek, but Scott doesn't want to give in. Gerard says he will have every one of Scott's family and friends killed by the Kanima if he doesn't help him. Back in the woods, Allison shoots Boyd and Erica, both with some of her special silver arrows. Allison planned on killing them, but Argent says they haven't done anything to be killed. Yet. They just need to be captured so they can lure the alpha in. We then jump over to Derek and Peter talking, and Peter suggests joining the same pack together and have two alphas in it, and their chances of stopping Gerard and Jackson would be much higher. He says they also need to use Lydia to get Jackson emotional and weak. As the lacrosse game ends, the lights shut off, and when they come back on, Jackson is unconscious in the middle of the field, and Styles is nowhere to be found as his dad screams out for him. Episode 12. Master Plan. Season Finale. The finale begins with Jackson being sent to the hospital. Styles is forced into a room in the Argent's basement where Boyd and Erica are currently tied up. Styles tries to free the two, but then Gerard walks in the room and gives Styles a backhand. Meanwhile, Peter and Derek then meet up with Scott so they can team up to take Gerard down. Argent and Allison still don't know that Gerard is the Kanima's master. Peter and Derek do some research and they think Jackson may be evolving again and they need his body to stop it from happening. And when they leave the hospital, Argent arrives and says the enemy of his enemy is his friend and they should work together to take down the Kanima's master. Argent then takes Scott and Jackson's body to Derek, with Peter watching off in the distance. As they're discussing what to do, Gerard shows up, and Argent realizes his dad is the master. Jackson then wakes up and claws Derek and Gerard, thanks Scott for bringing Derek to him, unintentionally. A huge battle then breaks out with everyone involved. It dies down whenever the Kanima grabs Allison's neck while Gerard gives his big villain speech. Gerard then tells them he wants to be a werewolf, and he forces Derek to bite him so he can live longer. He then realizes Scott spiked his pills with mountain ash, which kills werewolves if injected. As he is falling down, he yells for the Kanima to kill everyone. Lydia and Styles then show up, and Lydia uses Jackson's house key from his house to try getting emotionally attached to Jackson within the Kanima. Derek and Peter then stab him, and he gets blue eyes and turns into some kind of hybrid werewolf. The season ends a few days later with Derek, Peter, and Scott seeing a mark on Derek's house signaling a new pack is in town for Season 3. And that is it for Season 2. Hope you can check out Season 3 when I get it uploaded. Thanks for watching!